episode of Behind the Dreamers. I'm your host, Jennifer Loading, and we are talking to the achievers, the creators, the magic makers, and the dreamers. These are our friends, these are your friends, and they are living the extraordinary. Well, my guest today, I want to say, is a lifelong adventurer. He's done so many neat things. He's been a filmmaker, an educator. He's worn many hats: flight instructor, scuba instructor, trainer, mentor to numerous emerging film directors, an instructor for countless film workshops. He's an accomplished cyclist and has a record. He's a record holder and plans to attempt another world record here in 2025 as a master athlete. So I'm super excited to chat with him. I think you guys are going to be in for an awesome treat today. But before I bring him on, I do need to do a quick shout out to our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Walt Mills Productions. Need to add excitement to your YouTube videos or some expert hands for editing? Look no further. Walt Mills is the solution you've been searching for. Walt is not only your go-to guy for spicing up content, he's the force behind a thriving film production company with numerous titles in the pipeline. Always on the lookout for raw talent, Walt is eager to collaborate on film and internet productions. With a background deeply rooted in entertainment and promotion, Walt Mills leverages years of skills to give you the spotlight you deserve. Want to learn more about Walt and his work? Head on over to waltmillsproductions.net and let your content shine. All right, so with that said, we got to get our guest on. Super excited about this. So I just lost my paper, Jeff. All right, so Jeff Seckendorf, the doer of many things, owns and operates UTD Scuba Diving, specializing in comprehensive training and certification with a lifetime of coaching, mentoring, and teaching adults. He brings a unique coaching paradigm to scuba diving. For Jeff, it's not just about getting certified, it's about becoming better. And so we're excited to get him on here. I know he's got a big thing coming up. He's doing some cool things in the community. And so, Jeff, welcome to Behind the Dreamers. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Yeah, great. Jennifer, so happy to be here.
So where do we start? Oh my gosh, you got so many things going on. You've got you're a cyclist. You've done all these cool things. You've got this scuba diving, certification that you're doing. So tell us what you're working on right now. Tell us a little bit about the scuba diving and what you're working on at this present moment.
So the scuba diving thing is a company I own. I've had it since 2008. It's Unified Team Diving, and we are a global scuba certification and training agency. So that's a core business for me, and that's just what I do. And my particular role, I run it, and I run around the world training instructors and instructor trainers. So it's a really super fun, crazy fun, really fun gig. It. This is the epitome of do what you love and the money will follow. It's like, this is super fun.
Yeah. And you've traveled quite extensively with the scuba diving. Did I read that correctly?
Yeah. Pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
you're going to laugh at me. I have very little knowledge of scuba diving. I've had friends that have done it. I did this one scuba diving course in a swimming pool. We were training just to use the scuba diving equipment. Because you got to start somewhere, right?
Right.
So I'm sure you get people like me who come in and they're brand new learning this thing, and then you're actually certifying these people now, so they can are they training or actually just being certified in scuba diving?
Well, it's interesting you present it that way, because training and certification are different, and it's the thing that has really set us apart from the other 20 or 30 or 40 training agencies. That we're much more focused on training than just cranking out a certification. Right. And so that kind of takes the piece of scuba and cycling and puts it all together.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting. I'll see if I can piece this up for you quickly, and then we can go into a little more in the weeds.
You're fine. You're absolutely fine.
So I'm a master's athlete, right? I race a bike at a pretty high level for an almost 70-year-old guy. So it's in my life as an athlete, I have been coached for a very long time. The model for many of us as endurance athletes in coaching is that I have a coach. I'm in San Diego. He lives in Boulder. But we have this online tool, and every week he sets up a calendar for me of workouts on the bike and the gym and the whole thing. And I just do them. And I know that if I do this process consistently with structure, then my outcome becomes a little bit inevitable. Right. This is the thing about process-oriented training, right? That if you do the process, the outcome generally is inevitable. So in scuba, in the classic scuba thing is take a class and get a certification card. And that card has always been the holy grail for people. And we just decided to try to turn that absolutely on its head. And so now, we're very, since day one, we're very focused on the idea that you pay for training, but you earn certification. So the students who come into Unified Team Diving come in with an expectation that they're going to get training. And if they reach a particular bar, they'll get certification. If not, we create a path to completion for them that gets them to that goal. But we're very process oriented. It's so much about the process. So what we did was we took those two things. And my training director in Unified Team Diving is a triathlete. So, we kind of run parallel lives. He's about a lot younger than I am, but doing the same kind of thing. He's still a master's athlete. We took the coaching model that we use in endurance athletics and we applied it to scuba diving. And no one's ever done this before. And it's so cool. So the students who come in to the coaching program at Unified Team Diving come in and we call them clients, even though they're students. And they have a coach who is an instructor, but we call a coach. So there's some semantics in here to make it a little more friendly. So the client has a coach, and the coach has this calendar app, which is the exact same calendar I use on my bike with my coach. And the coach sets up a week of workouts in scuba for the client, for the student. And this becomes our training process for as long as it takes. And, we have 1,000 memes about this, but one of them is that we're slowing the training down from, 2 weekends or 4 days to maybe 6 months or a year. We've had people in this program for 2-3 years. And, the magic thing about coaching, and I think this is true in coaching everywhere, business, sports, now scuba, is that coaching makes you better, right? I could do an online training program on the bike and I would probably get faster, but I wouldn't get better.
Right.
My cycling coach makes me better. And this is the beauty of what we do in scuba, is that we took this coaching program and we said, we're not going to just make you certified. We're going to make you better.
Yeah.
And then we're going to show you how to apply that betterness to the rest of your life.
I like it.
So it's just not scuba.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I'm listening to you. And I think that, I think you're right. I think that's like that in every way. And I had some words I wanted to kind of wrap around that, because I think it's when you're focusing on the person's coming in and they're learning this. It's sort of like when I went through my, I was in Mary Kay in leadership for 22 years. So I had a lot of hands-on experience. You don't get a manual on how to build teams, right? You learn how to build teams through building teams, right? But when I was kind of merging out of that and going into my own practice, I went and got a life coaching certification. And it was sort of the same thing. Like when I went into it to get the coaching experience. It wasn't to be certified in the coaching. It was to go through and learn how to be a better leader.
Yeah.
And we actually had to go through, when I started going through that, I thought, you know what? I'm going to do this coaching program, but I don't even care about the certification. That's not why I did it. It wasn't to go get because you can go online and do a coaching certification. You're right. You can just go get one. It doesn't make you a better coach or a better leader, right? Anybody can say, I'm these things without having had the experience. But I went into it and I went in because I wanted to be a better leader. And so I took the course without really having any intention of using it for anything other than to be more effective communicating with the team that I was working with. And so I think the approach is different when you come in, with that standpoint of how am I working to be better, right? Then those are kind of like the icings on the cake, right? Like you get those in the after. Yes, you can go for the certification, but it's really about being a better, whatever it is you're in, knowing your skill, knowing your craft, knowing how to do it well, and being effective so that, hey, you can also show it and apply it, right? And so you said a lot of really good things there. And I think the athleticism is so good in this.
Was that a good experience for you? Was that of process that led to an outcome without worrying about a certification, right?
Yeah. Well, in many ways, yes. And I think I've approached everything from that angle. I feel like I do that with everything I do. I set goals for things, but I really, even when I work with my clients, I'm not about showing my client, here's what I need you to do. I'm about, how do I make the client make transformation, right? Like, how do I get them to make the transformation that they need so it sticks and they can use it in all areas of their lives? It doesn't just apply in what they're doing, because all these principles that we learn, like you kind of just said that, right? You took your cycling and you took the things that you learned from that and you moved it into this other practice that you do, right? Because the principles are kind of are universal, right? We just have them a little bit differently within the work, but we learn these skill sets and these things, whatever that is, whether it's, discipline or all of these things, and we can apply them in these other areas. So for me, yeah, I when you were saying all this, I can absolutely resonate with all of it, because nothing I've ever done has been about, hey, how do we get a certification? It's been, how do we make something effectively where somebody becomes better at what they're doing with it? Hopefully it's better, being a better human being, Jeff. That's what my goal is.
That's the goal. Well, you said something really interesting to me in that last moment, which is about learning it by yourself, learning it on your own. And, education, the classic definition is creating a change in behavior in your students. But if you don't add retention to that change, then there's no point, right? If you change behavior and they can do that in your class and then they forget it the next day, it doesn't matter. So what we're doing in the education program in UTD and with the coaching program is working on behavior change with retention.
Love it.
And that is the piece of this that is so interesting. So in the coaching program in Scuba, none of the coaches live in the same town as their clients for the most part, because the coaches are everywhere. We're all over the world. The students are all over the world. And we just put them together using Zoom and phone and this calendar app and stuff. One of the things that always sounds like I'm selling snake oil when I'm talking to people about signing up and trying the Scuba coaching program is that it's scuba, it's diving, it's water. It's like normally you have an instructor and he's instructors with you and you go for a dive and they critique you. And in the coaching program, what we do is we send people into a pool with a buddy and a camera, and we give them a skill set to work on. And then they come back with the video and upload the video for their coach. Now, this is where the snake oil thing comes in. It sounds like hooey, right? Like we're just trying to convince you to take this weird online scuba course, which seems impossible. What we found over the years is that, so we look at a skill you're trying to do, like a back kick, right? Kicking backward, which is a really valuable scuba skill. And sometimes it's hard for people to get. So they watch a video, we talk about it, go in the pool, try it, and then come back with the video. And we critique that video. Normally, we would just fix them on the spot. Like move their feet, do like this, go like this.
Yeah.
But in this situation, it's like, okay, I need you to think about this, right? I need you to think this in your head when you're moving your feet like this, go try it again. So now we're forcing them to connect their own process to the physical stuff, make a neuromechanical change, and come back with another video. Basically, what's happening is they're learning it themselves.
Right.
And that's where the retention part, it's a game changer, because, we know that retention from learning it yourself is so much deeper than retention from having somebody
tell you,
move your body. And you just, it's a hard sell because nobody believes it until they're in. And then all of a sudden it's like, holy crap, this really works.
You know what this makes me think of when you say this? I feel like it makes me think the difference between like a consultant and a coach. If you were to differentiate the two, and this is something that I have to talk to people when they come to me, because people will come to me and they say, and I'm sure you get this a lot, they want you to tell them exactly what to do, right? Like, and it's what you're saying, in the water, move their legs around, right? When it's their idea. And this is where I talk to them about the coach and the consultant. I say, if I told you everything to do, you're not going to buy into it, right? Like, you're not going to buy into what I'm telling you because it's my ideas, and you're going to go home and be like, yeah, Jennifer told me to do that. But if it's your idea, you're going to get behind it. So all I do is facilitate and help you figure out what you need to do. I'm there to give you some suggestions and help facilitate it. But you are so right. When you said that to me, that's exactly what I'm picturing, kind of the difference between somebody coming in and telling you exactly what to do and somebody facilitating a process for you to begin to realize it's your idea, your thought, your concept. You noticed it, right? And then you retain it.
Yeah. And the first time this happens, the light bulb that goes off that says, oh my God, with guidance, I can learn these skills better.
Mm-hmm.
And because our whole goal is to slow the process down, I don't care how long it takes. I don't care if it takes you 8 tries to get this skill right. It doesn't matter. That's just what we're doing is we're giving ourselves the permission to take whatever time it needs. And it's all because we're getting rid of this pressure of outcome.
Yeah.
Right? The outcome is just inevitable, but it happens when it happens.
You got to retain. No, I get what you're saying totally. And that's kind of, I get it because that's sort of kind of the way that, when I do my work. In fact, I was interviewing some guys right before this. I was telling him that I had created a coaching program. And I said, one of the things about it that I was trying to do is make it more in a storytelling form, because people, when they can relate things to messaging, when they can see it, you can tell somebody, like, for instance, have integrity. Well, what does that look like? To you, it may be something else. To me, somebody else, right? But if you can show, this is what I'm trying to show you. This is an action verb of what integrity looks like. Here's a story that shows it. They're, a child, they're going to retain it. They're going to have a better retaining of this than if you just told them this and they got to write that down, And so I like it. I like what you're doing. And I can see how that, the difference in the model that you're doing versus, hey, let's get the certification, let's get them versed in what they're doing, get them to be a better scuba diver, get them to retain the skills set.
Yeah, it's called playable direction. In filmmaking, it's called playable direction, right? Yeah. If you tell an actor to, play, you did okay, but be sexier.
Right.
Well, then what the actor says is, oh my God, he doesn't think I'm sexy. So let me try to be sexy the way I think he thinks I should be. Yeah. But, if you tell an actor to do something like, play this like the first time you're in the backseat of a car with your boyfriend in high school.
Right.
It's like, boom, now I've got a connection to an emotion, some action, and I can create something from inside myself. That's kind of what we're doing. And I don't think it's unique to our coaching program, because I also coach athletes and I'm a coached athlete, blah, blah. I think playable direction becomes like this really critical piece of it that says a good coach will give you something that's playable.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what you're talking about. You're saying, let's give our clients a way to learn that they can actually do the learning, not just the repetition. And it's in that doing of the learning where, now we're starting to repeat ourselves, but that's where the retention.
Oh, I love it. This is so good. I'm glad I even talked to you today, because I never know where these shows are going to go, but I love it because you're basically saying what I'm talking about in different languaging. And it's great because you brought in the filmmaking, the biking, the scuba. It's all come together. We're talking about completely different things, but they really all are connected in some way. And it's the method. And this is what I tell people all the time when they're out looking for coaches and stuff, because there's so many people that go out in all these fields and they go sign up for a course and they're like, hey, today I'm a life coach. And I'm like, can you tell anybody, have you had any life? I'm like, have you had, first of all, any life experience? And then I'm thinking, how are you getting your people to retain anything when you're just telling them to go home and like do this thing repetitively? And they have never even been to never even been to the gym on any given day. And they're going to go now 7 days for 2 hours. I used to be a aerobics instructor. I know how that works. It doesn't.
Really?
Like, they come in on January
and the arm warmers and the leg warmers and the whole thing?
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
But they come in January, they pack out the gym, and guess what? 6 weeks, they're gone. I know the pattern. So
I know it.
As I tell you, you and I, we bring different things. Like, I feel like I have these different areas of my life that I can bring in, and I'm like, I have stories for them all. I love it. So you're a cyclist. We talked about that. You've got a big thing coming up that you're working on in 2025. Am I correct? Tell us a little bit about what's going on with this.
Yeah, I ride and race on the track on the velodrome. And I love the track, right? It's probably, to me, it's the purest form of cycling, right? Because you're on a confined space. It's just a little oval. It's 250 or 330 meters so it's very small. It's very confined. You can go very fast. The bike has one gear, no brakes.
Wow.
you can ride against the clock, or you can ride against other people. So, I'll go out and I'll do a 2 or 3 hour workout on the track, and it's not a meditation, but it's very meditative to me.
Yeah.
So it gets me in my own head as a cyclist. And, track racing is traditionally short events, often, at the master's level, these pursuits and time trials are 2.5 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. And I was looking for something longer, which sort of suits my body. And, I got learning about the hour record. And the hour record is such a simple thing, right? It's how far can you make your bike go in an hour? And it's been going on since the 1800s. It's this iconic thing. It goes through waves, right? Right now, it's very fashionable to try an hour record. 5 years ago, like nobody was doing it. And the hour record is crazy. It's up to 56 kilometers.
Wow.
I mean, that's like way up in the 30 plus mile an hour range. So in my age group, it's about 44 kilometers, about 27 miles. So I'm training to see if I can actually get my bike to go 27 miles in an hour. And it's a 5-year process for me. All of my work on the bike is geared toward that goal. And we'll see if it's feasible. These people keep coming along and raising it.
Not how it is, right?
So
Entrepreneurs, are you ready to level up your leadership skills? Tune in now for an exclusive offer designed just for you.
This is my time.
Did you know 63% of consumers prefer businesses aligned with their values? Recognizing your core values isn't just vital for business growth, it's the bedrock of effective leadership. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or an aspiring creator, identifying your core values is a key step in constructing the framework of a successful leader, enabling you to lead authentically, expand your business, and live life on your terms.
I never settled on play, putting the kettle to flame. I go 100 all day, foot on the pedal, no brakes. 10, 9, paid on my dues, waited in line, 8, 7.
Are you ready to access tools to kickstart your leadership journey? Unlock a treasure trove of insights and get your free resources at www.linktree/Jennifer Loading. Take that crucial first step toward realizing your leadership aspirations and elevate your leadership game today.
Ready to shine, brighter than all of the
I'm 68. I'll be racing at age 70 in 2025. We race on the whole year you're born, that year, that's your racing age. So anytime after 2025, I can attack this thing at age 70. And we'll see. It's
exciting.
It's about the process.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. It's about the process. If I hated the process, I would never do it. But the outcome becomes less important. I want the outcome. I want to be successful at this. But the process is the thing that makes me feel like what I'm doing on the bike applies to my life.
Mm-hmm.
If I go and do a super hard workout that I think is almost too hard to complete and I finish it, then I come back and I solve some, piece of paper problem on my desk, whatever it is. It's like, well, I just crushed, a threshold workout on my bike, sitting here and figuring out this little paper website thing, email. It's like nothing, right?
Yeah.
So applying the process of something really, really hard, which is what this bike thing is, to being, a better husband, better grandparent, better cook, better, handyman, whatever it happens to be you do and you like, right?
Yeah.
I just try to take all that stuff on the bike, better business owner for sure, and apply it to all these other things. And that trickles down to me as a coach saying, my goal for my clients is, yes, to make you better on the bike, or yes, to make you better in scuba, but most importantly, to give you the tools to take that betterness and stick it on something that matters to you, maybe more than the bike, right? Like being a parent or being a grandparent or being a spouse or something like that. So
that's good.
So that's kind of why all that connects for me. And it's why I love the process so much.
Yeah, it's really neat that you say all that too. And I always say, I feel like how we do one thing is sort of kind of how we do all things. And so
it's a good way to look at it.
Huh?
It's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. So I kind of feel like, when like when I kind of, I always feel like when people seek out, and I'll talk about like coaches specific, they'll seek them out for a certain reason. Like they'll either have a crisis in their life or they want to grow their business or something. But really at the core, we have to go back to making them a better, I hate to say like human, because I've had people go, what if I'm already a better human? I'm like, trust me, none of us are better humans. We're working on that every day, right? Like that's a process. Right? You can't say that to people, but I know deep down, if we're trying to work on a business, there's probably some leadership things there's things we got to work on, right? And so I love what you're saying about this whole exercise, because that is really kind of sort of how, like when I went, even in this, I didn't realize that was really my entryway into how I got to where I even today. I went in initially because I just wanted to exercise. And then it became about how does the exercise transfer to my life? How does it make me a better mom, coworker, entrepreneur, human? How does it transfer into that? And so I've been working out. I put a post up the other day that I've been actively doing some kind of working out for like 20 something years. I started in my late 20s. I'm in my 50s now. And I went from teaching aerobics. I've done marathons. I've done different things. There's not a day really that goes by unless I make a conscious decision. And I say, today I'm going to rest. I'm not going to exercise. That doesn't happen very often. I exercise pretty much every day. I almost walk my dogs every day. If I'm not, I'm running, I'm at the gym. Because for me, it's just part of what I do every day. And like you said, the problem that you're solving, I feel like it does. It allows me the ability to get through all the other things that I need to do, whatever that is in that particular day. And so I know even psychologically, I say, if I don't work out, like you don't probably want to be around me because I could kind of be crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I need it.
Yeah. It's funny. I've known writers who have said the best part of writing is having written. This is a really interesting thing to me. And I talk about this a lot, with clients, because what that means is they hate the process. They want the outcome, right?
Yeah.
Finishing writing takes 1 second, right? You just push send.
Right.
The 5 years it took to write the book, the screenplay, the thing, whatever you're doing, if you hate that process, but you want the outcome so badly, you just threw 5 years of life into like this hell bucket.
That one thing.
Yeah, for the point of this one little thing, and who knows if it'll get accepted, published, blah, blah, blah. The whole point of this is you've got to just take the process and embrace it no matter what it is. And then even if the outcome is not successful, right? Like on this hour thing, if I get to a point in 2025 and we look at the record and we look at my physiology and my time, my budget, my training and all this, and we say, look, you're 2 kilometers away from this thing. Don't waste the next 20 grand to go do it. I'm going to say, okay. It's like, okay, let's change directions. Let's not waste the money. I did a great job. I enjoyed the 5 years. It was really good. I learned a ton. Let's go a slightly different direction where I can be successful with an outcome, but we'll continue in the process, right?
Yeah.
So if I can't do it at 70, I'll do it at 75. I can't do it at 75, I'll do it at 80. It doesn't matter to me.
Right.
And actually, finally, at one point, I was talking to a sports psychologist about this. It's like, what's the situation if you get too into process, right? This was a really interesting conversation because I had drifted down this road where outcome didn't matter. Process was everything. And I found what was happening to me was I wasn't working hard enough in the workouts because the outcome didn't matter. It's like, well, I'm supposed to do a 3-hour ride today, but if I do 2, so what? It won't matter. It might take me a little longer to get to my goal. What I learned in working with that amazing person was that outcome can drive your energy into the process and make the process that much better. It changed my whole perspective on outcome, and it got me to a point where I made the process harder and better. It was just a really interesting circle. And it was like in front of me.
Right.
But I was so holier than thou about, oh no, outcome doesn't matter. Winning doesn't matter. Nothing matters. What matters is that you do a great job as you're training and blah, blah. That's just all bullshit.
Yeah.
You need to have a reason to do it.
Yeah.
And then I think you can go back and say, okay, I love the process.
No, I agree with you. And it's interesting that you even brought that up about the book. I just interviewed a hip hop rap artist that just released like a graphic novel book, and he got it picked up by Dark Horse, which I guess is kind of a big in the comic deal. And he was talking about that. It was a 5-year process to do this. And he's talked specifically about, because I asked him, what did you love about all this? Like, what were some of the challenges? And they were talking about taking on this project and how long it took and really enjoying the process and now kind of seeing the fruits of their labor now happening. But had they not enjoyed that process, because they had released the book and then I think they basically relaunched it again. So they went through a whole nother process of that. So I think there's so many great takeaways in this, and I'm with you on all of that. I think that I always compare it to like having a baby or running a marathon. I say you work so hard to get those two things, and if you're just waiting for that day and not trying to enjoy it, you're going to be absolutely miserable when you get done, because you're going to come out of that marathon, because I know I've done it. You're going to come out and you're going to be like, why in the hell did I do that? Because that sucked, right? It's about trying to find the victory and the win in that. And I do agree with you too on having the goals too. You don't want to be so where you're just, well, I don't care if I reach a goal because I'm just enjoying all this, because then you just kind of don't get there, right? You want to be able to figure out where the goal is and enjoy the process with it. But I'm with you on all of that. I think it's important. I think we get sometimes so hell-bent on having the goal that we miss all the silver lining, really. We miss everything around us. And I think it was Jordan Peterson that talked about that, where you get so laser focused on the goal that you don't see even the opportunities that come around you because you're so looking at the end and not able to stop and smell the roses every once in a while, So
it's balance, right? It's balance. Yeah, it's just balance.
Absolutely. Good stuff. So you mentioned that you told me this off camera, you're doing some community work. Did I get that correctly? Or you're on the board? Tell me tell us a little bit about that.
I'm involved with the Parkinson's community in San Diego. My wife is medical and her whole practice is Parkinson's. So I have 100 friends with Parkinson's. And so I've chosen that basically as the place to put as much of my energy as I can, socially. So, I just do a lot of work for that organization in terms of, content and newsletters and video and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's really fun. It's really satisfying. And then I started this little passion project called the Institute of Purpose. And it came up because I love the name. I just think it's the coolest name. I was having coffee with a friend of mine. He said, I've got this name I don't know what to do with. And he told me, it's the Institute of Purpose. Oh my God, we have to do something with that because the name's amazing. And then, sometimes when I tell this story, I talk about it like, remember in high school when they named their band before they had the band, right? So we've got this cool name for a band, but now, we don't have a drummer. We don't know what kind of music we're playing. Yeah, we don't know anything. We can't read music. But they have the name, right? That's kind of what the Institute of Purpose was. So for about 2 years now, we've been kind of honing this into something. And where it is right now, it's a simple website, and it's just got a collection of very short videos of people talking about what is their purpose. Mm-hmm. Why do they get up in the morning? What happens when they lose purpose? What happens when they discover something outside of their normal purview that says, oh my God, just doing this gives me purpose? Right? My wife leads international treks every other year to all over the place, to crazy places for people with Parkinson's.
Oh, wow.
So we've taken people with Parkinson's to Mount Everest Base Camp, to Machu Picchu, to the Camino de Santiago, to the Dolomites. Next year, we're going to the Kumano Kodo, the pilgrimage in Japan.
Wow.
And this is people doing more than they can even imagine they could do.
Yeah.
So it's an incredible purpose-driven project for her. So for me, the whole purpose thing was kind of about, well, let's just see if we can create a place where people can go look and listen to people talk about their purpose. And it's just been this really interesting thing. So I don't know, there are 20 or 30 little short videos. When you listen to them, as a spoiler alert, when you listen to them, they're all the same. They all are, my purpose is to help other people.
Yeah.
But the road to that helping is different 20 times.
Right.
And it's fascinating to hear how people have discovered ways in their own life to help other people and use that as a way to have purpose. So it's just a place where, it's like, I don't know, I want to do something good for the world. I don't know what to do. Well, check out these videos. Now, here's a dancer, here's a coach, here's a this, here's a that, here's a medical, here's whatever. And listen to how other people have kind of found ways within their own work, family, lifestyle to either within or without of their comfort zone to help others. And it's just been a great project. So I encourage everybody to go take a look at the Institute
Yeah,
of Purpose.
it sounds amazing. Yeah. Well, and you said something good because I want to ask you this next question, and then I've got a couple fun ones I want to ask you. And this one is one that I ask a lot of people, and they all kind of say the same thing to me in just different words, but the messaging is always the same. So I would love to know, and you kind of said a lot of this already to me in different parts of the clip, but I would love to know how you, as an entrepreneur and a creator and doing all these different things you do, how you define success. Like, what does that look like in your world?
We were trying to find a metric for scuba diving, right? Because in cycling, there's power targets. In running, there's splits. In sports, it's easy to come up with a metric, right? We were trying to come up with something in scuba. Like, what is the metric in scuba diving? Is your buoyancy perfect? There's no way to measure it. So one of our instructors, we were talking about this a few months ago. He said, I think the metric is satisfaction. And I just think that when you take that into a more global thought, the fact that I feel successful in my life because I feel very, very satisfied with how my days go, right? I got up this morning, I went to the gym, I had a great workout, I've got all this cool stuff to do. I'm meeting you, which is fantastic. I've got a bike ride this afternoon. I'm going to wrap this day out with a glass of wine tonight in front of a fire thinking, this was a really satisfying day. And to me, that makes it successful. So I think it's internal. I think success is internal, and I think you have to come up with your own metric for it. But when there's no measurable metric, right? A successful bike ride for me is, can I hit my numbers? Did I do a good workout? A successful day for me was, am I satisfied with how the day went? Do I feel good about it? Did I help someone? It's simple.
Yeah, I love that question. That's why I said I feel like we all kind of say is sort of the same thing. Everybody just has a different spin, kind of like your stories. Everybody kind of says the same message, but how they find it is different. I interviewed a girl once. I'll leave you with this, and then I have a couple questions. I've interviewed a girl once who lost her husband. They both had gotten cancer. He got pancreatic cancer, died within, I think, 6 weeks. So she traveled all over the world to basically look for these 14 things that she defined as love. And she said every time she would go to look for the one thing, she'd find it in a different way. And so it kind of made me think of that she sort of had this metric she was finding, but it was always this heart-centered thing. Like, it would change her whole perspective of how she went about finding it. Kind of like we've said throughout this whole thing about, the way we've been learning and getting people to, we think we're going to get it this one way, but it ends up really being a different way that we're getting that across, that how we're making them better scuba divers, a better person, however that is. Everything in this whole thing has been about the same messaging, but we're helping them find it in a different way.
Yeah.
So
it's really cool.
Your filmmaking has come into play so much with this, because I'm like, this was such a great analogy for me, all of this, because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm talking about. But you just put a different spin on it. So it was all good. I love it.
Okay, great.
It was good. Okay, I have a couple fun questions I want to ask, and then we'll wrap this thing up. So because you are an athlete, I love to ask this question to my athlete people, because they're like me. They probably eat pretty good most of the time. So I would love to know maybe just one guilty pleasure food. Like, what's the one thing that you're like, this is not good, but I love it? That's a hard one.
It is, because it means I have to admit something, right?
Oh, sorry.
No. It's good, because I have this whole thing about nutrition that I try not to eat food I can't pronounce. That's kind of my metric on nutrition, right?
That's good.
Can't recognize, I can't pronounce it, I try not to eat it. So, although if there's ice cream in the house, it's a goner.
Yeah, I like ice cream. That's mine too. I'm not a big junk food eater, but there are certain things. Yeah, I like chocolate too. I don't eat a lot of it, but there's a couple things.
It's probably the same for everybody, right? I mean, we all try to be holier than thou about nutrition.
Yeah,
and of course, that's no fun.
I know, not fun. All right, is there maybe like a favorite? I want to say a favorite book, like one that had a profound effect on you. Anything that stands out in your mind?
Yeah.
Oh, you got it.
Where is it? Oh, I can never find this thing when I need it. Okay. It's a little tiny book by a guy named George Leonard called Mastery.
Mastery. Okay. I
It's
hadn't
a
heard that.
short little read.
Yeah.
It's kind of about the education process. It's where I've learned a lot about plateau learning and how we function on plateaus, and how the plateau is the cool place to be, and the jumps to plateau are like necessary evils to get to a place where you can just have learned something new and live that new. So, yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't find it. It's in the shelves behind me.
That's fine. This is a good, how I get a book list. It's good. All right. One last question I want to ask you. So when you
wait,
train,
I got one more.
Okay.
There's a book by a woman named Annie Duke.
Okay.
Who is a poker player called
Quit. I know this one.
Yeah, called Quit. Probably one of the best reads I've ever done. It's this fascinating psychological story on quitting in business, in sports, in poker, in life. I
feel like somebody else told me about this one. I feel like I've heard this one.
You got to read this book. This book is just, it's life-changing. It's very amazing. Cool. Yeah. Quit.
Thank you for bringing that up. Okay. One last question I want to ask you. When you train, because I know how I am when I train for my run and all that stuff. Music or no music?
No music.
No music. Okay. Yeah, you said it's because it's like your meditation.
Meditative.
Yeah. My husband, so he runs these long, endurance, and he does not do any music either. And that's his time to kind of, so I get it.
Yeah, my wife does podcasts when she rides her bike. She's a beast on the bike. But
love it.
I like pedal stroke.
Yeah.
Road.
You like to zone in and just be in tune
just get focused, right?
I get it. Yeah. All right. Well, very cool. This has been so much fun, Jeff. So if our listeners want to get in touch, maybe they want to figure out about the scuba program, maybe the passion project, or any of these things, where do we want to send them so they can find you?
So the scuba thing is utdscubadiving.com. That's easy. And the Institute of Purpose.org is the fun place.
Okay. Perfect.
And if anybody wants to do a story, or if you'd like to do a little 30-second video about purpose, we'll just record one and I'll drop it on the website. Yeah.
Yeah. Fun. Okay. We'll make sure too, when we get all this together, we'll make sure we get those websites in there so people know how to find you too. I get my editor's pretty good. He'll get everything in there. So it's been a lot of fun. I want to thank you for sharing with us and talking about all the cool things you got going on, and congratulations on your world record and in the project working on the one that's coming up in 2025. It'll be fun to see all this happening for you. So thank you for all of that. It's been fun.
Thank you. It's been great to talk to you.
Awesome. We do want to say, of course, to our listeners, if you enjoy the show, head on over to Apple, give us a review over there. You can hit that subscribe button on YouTube so we can keep sharing all these fun stories. And as I always say, in order to live the extraordinary, you must start, and every start begins with a decision. You guys take care, be safe, be kind to one another, and we will see you next time.